Last time, I said this. I did a ton of research. I looked at every option. I have a lot to say about this, but I'm going to save it for another day. Well, it's another day now. No doubt you've already done research on how to get started in a UI UX design career. Or maybe you haven't yet. Either way, you're in for a potentially confusing and sometimes frustrating mess. As I showed in my previous video, I found a path that worked for me and landed me my first UI UX design job at a top 4 consulting firm in just 8 months. Seriously, no gimmicks, no boot camps. It's just a step-by-step on how I did it. Before that though, I did so much research on Google, YouTube, Reddit, everything. I have been there, I have done that, I feel your pain, and I'm here to help. In this video, I'm going to share the common pathways that self-taught UX designers may take and which ones I feel are actually worth it. And of course, the one that worked for me and landed me my job. But before that, we need to answer the question, what makes a good UI UX design course? So while there are some outliers, there are some employers who are just looking for graphic designers and calling them UI UX designers, the fact remains the same. You need to know both the UX and the UI side of things to be a really good designer. And that is not a simple thing. Why not? Because UI UX is about training and adopting a mindset. It's not a checklist. Allow me to explain. Let's say you take a course and the instructor shows you how to design a shopping app. All of your icons are a perfect 32 pixels. All of your buttons have a primary and a secondary state. It's awesome, it looks great, and you should be proud. But let me ask you this. Who drove that design? You or your users? For example, 32 pixels is generally perfectly fine for icons. But if your app was being used a lot by older ones, then you might want to bump it up to 40 pixels. So how do you know which size to use? UX. User experience. Another example. Let's say your shopping app is designed like many others for consistency, which does have merit, but you send it out and you find out that nobody is using it. The comments say that it has all the problems that the other apps have. So how could you have made your app stand out and solve the problems of your competitors? UX. User experience. Yes, the course did teach you something, how to use the design software to make a shopping app. But that's about it. It didn't tell you why you made those decisions, how they would affect your users, or even if your users would want that app, because there was no user in the user experience design. UX will touch every aspect of your design, from solving problems from users to, yes, your financial bottom line. Makes sense why I make such a big fuss about it? It's not just about the cool looking layouts and websites. The aesthetic is part of UI UX. It's also about the work that happens before that. It's about the thought, research, and input that drove that design. It's not a checklist. It's a mindset. So, with that in mind, which paths are best suited for that? So I'm going to talk about 5 pathways that self-taught UX designers may take. I'm going to talk about YouTube, Udemy, bootcamps, my favorite, Coursera, and a traditional college experience. And I'm going to rate them on how well I think they do at teaching UI, UX, the quality of the teaching, the time it takes you to complete their course, and of course, the cost. Okay, first let's talk about YouTube. So for this video, I Googled and searched Reddit for the top UI UX design channels on YouTube. Because of the context of the video, I'm not going to name any specifically. In my opinion, YouTube can be an incredible resource, but from what I see, it is severely lacking in the UX department. Right from the get-go, there are tons of tutorials on learning the software, and they'll vary in terms of skill. But if you're trying to learn the software, you're going to find some incredibly good stuff here. There's also videos on design tips and choosing your colors, which can be very helpful. And there's plenty of career advice, which really won't apply to you until you're applying for your first job or you've already started your first job. But when it comes to the UX side, the videos are far and few in between, and when they are there, it's incredibly shallow information, with one exception. The Nielsen Norman Group. My advice to you, you should subscribe to them immediately and watch every video that they put out. But even they are not a balanced breakfast. So again, YouTube is a great resource for learning the UI side. You'll get to see some of the work others have done, you'll get to see how to use the software, but when it comes to UX, it's just not here. Next up is Udemy. So in preparation for this video, I looked up the top UI UX design courses on the site. And as it turns out, I bought every top course they had when I was first starting out. Seriously? I was ready to roll. But it pretty much ends up being the same situation as YouTube. They slap the UI UX design name on it, but it just turns out to be a tutorial on using the design software and then maybe, design tips and choosing layouts. Some are project-based, which is personally my favorite way to learn, but you're still only learning one side of the equation. I personally like Udemy better than YouTube. It tends to be more reliable and consistent. In fact, I plan to reteach myself HTML and CSS and stuff like that, and I'm going to use Udemy to do it. But when it comes to learning the UX side, some videos will mention it, and that's about it. Now, we have bootcamps. Bootcamps. Wow. They come in different flavors, but generally they're more structured and organized than using YouTube or Udemy. And it seems that everybody in their self-taught UX journey will eventually land on bootcamps and sit and mull it over for a while. And that's because they pose a strong conundrum. They claim to have high success rates. Many have some sort of job or money-back guarantee. They say they get you going real fast, sometimes in as little as 9 weeks. And they seem to be professionally taught. But they are thousands of dollars. My God, the thousands of dollars. But you're thinking to yourself, well, if it works, it's gonna cost something, right? If it gets me the job, it'll be worth it. When I started out, I researched over 15 online boot camps and a few from the local colleges here. Again, I won't mention any by name, but here's what I learned on researching these boot camps. First off, enough with asking for my name, email, and phone number when I want to see the syllabus. If I am interested in calling you, I will call you. Second, some seem very balanced, listing UI and UX in their syllabi, which is exactly what you need. But their completion times are worrisome to me. Some only give like 1 month to learn all of the user research techniques, when really you need maybe 2 months. In one bootcamp, the syllabus said that there were 40 hours of instructor videos, when the bootcamp was separated into 18 segments. If that's true, you have a little less than 2.5 hours to learn every user research technique. Not even close to enough time. This makes me worry that they either just breeze right through it, or they talk about it and then give you a ton of homework to do. Well, if that's the case, you could just do that on your own. But again, I haven't taken these courses for myself, so I can't say for sure. Also, big disclaimer, some of these courses, not going to mention any names, are just a collection of already available links and videos for you to watch. In other words, for the thousands that you spend, they just organize that stuff for you to do. Heck no. In fact, in the future, I'm going to do that for you, because that makes me incredibly angry. Third, the job/money back guarantee. Risk-free, right? Nope. Again, not naming names, but many of these courses make it seem that they can guarantee that you'll get a job. Like either they'll give you a job, or they'll help you get a job, or they know someone somewhere and they'll give you a job, or they'll give you your money back if you don't get a job. I mean, that was my first impression when I first looked into them, but a little bit of research and you'll find out that's not true, or at least it's not that simple. Some policies say that the job has to be within a certain area of where you live, or it has to be in an area where there's a lot of UI UX jobs. In other words, you can't be too picky and expect, control over what kind of job you want to have after shelling out thousands of dollars. Which, if you're like me, being picky and choosing where I work was one of the main reasons I made a career change in the first place. So no, it's not necessarily risk-free at all. Fourth, just some really weird stuff. One course mentioned in their FAQs that was best for students who have already gotten a bachelor's degree before taking their course, which, if I had a bachelor's degree, I probably wouldn't be looking for an affordable method. Another course had 2 choices, a UX self-paced, self-taught course, and a UX instructor-led course. And after looking at both syllabi, the UX self-taught course is better than the instructor-led one. So in that case, you could effectively teach yourself better than their instructor, in my opinion. Wild stuff, man. So that's my take on boot camps. They're wild cards, and very expensive wild cards at that. And I'm sure there are plenty of people who have gotten jobs after taking them. In fact, I know of several, but at the same time, I wonder if it's the person themselves that is responsible for their success and not so much the course. So, my recommendation, do your own research. Ask them many questions, get everything in writing, don't take anything for granted. You see why I made this another video now? Also, something that I was deeply disappointed in were boot camps being held at the local colleges near me. Some very reputable ones. And I thought, yes, an actual college. Surely this would be worth 10 grand. The college wasn't even teaching it. They were just hosting some other company to go there and do it. And guess what I found out once I started asking questions? Nothing but Figma stuff, and then a list of videos for me to watch. So yes, even if it's being held at a college, do your research. Which brings me to the option that landed me my dream job in 8 months, when I was only halfway through the course: Coursera. Coursera is a collection of courses that is taught by or put together by colleges and other reputable institutions, including Google. In fact, I'm sure many of you have heard of the Google UX course. After a year of looking at all these other options, I decided I was going to try looking into taking some loose courses at a college. Not going for the degree, but taking whatever classes they had related to UI UX. And then I learned about Coursera, and that it's pretty much what I was planning to do. In other words, it's a professional instructor teaching you a slice of their college level program. Why is that important? Because like I mentioned before, you are not learning a checklist of design steps. You are learning to adopt a mindset. And to be taught a mindset, it helps when there is someone there who has the mindset and can speak from experience, which is exactly what you need. Now, I can't speak for every course on Coursera, but I can speak for two. The two I mentioned in my previous video, one by the University of Michigan and one by the California Institute of the Arts. These courses, especially the Michigan one, is spot on. They teach you the UX that would naturally translate into UI, which the California course will help you with, and you are put through the paces of a UI UX designer. Now, they won't teach you every user research technique. Again, it's just a slice of what they're offering at their college. But what they do teach you is more than enough. They are both very practical. From day one of my job, I knew exactly what I needed to do, and everything I learned, I use it every day. Which is great, because I haven't had to build a single shopping app yet. I give all of the credit of my success to taking those two courses. Now, what about the Google UX course on Coursera? In my opinion, having not taken the course, but I did read through the syllabus, I think it's a decent intro to UX, but I would still choose the Michigan course over it. It's on my to-do list for sure, but I don't think it would have prepared me as well as those two other courses did. And Coursera is inexpensive, you can do it for free. And finally, we have the traditional college pathway. As you can imagine, this varies greatly from school to school, but there are some options out there. For example, the University of Michigan is on that list. Just be sure that you look into whether it's accredited versus non-accredited. Google some reviews on how well students felt prepared, and of course, the cost. In fact, now that I have a decent job, I am personally looking into getting my bachelor's degree, and I want it to be in a program that includes UI UX. So I'm sorry I didn't have much to share here. There really is no easy way to compare all of these different schools and programs to each other, but I did want to include it for comparison. Okay, so I said I would rate these pathways based on my opinion and research, so let's synthesize this stuff down. Okay, let's start with YouTube. Does YouTube teach UI reasonably well? I'll say yes. Does it teach UX reasonably well? I'm gonna say no. How would I rate the quality of teaching on YouTube? I'll give it a score of a C to a D, average to bad. There have been some good UI videos on there, but I'll say that even these can be really shallow when it comes to the standards and information. Could you get and perform well at a UI UX job based on YouTube alone? No. I don't think so. The time, because of the quality of teaching, I'm just gonna put not applicable. I don't think it really matters how long you'd spend on YouTube. I think you have a very, very hard time getting a true UI UX design job. The cost though, of course, it's completely free. Now, let's talk about Udemy. Does Udemy teach UI well? I'll say yes. What about UX? Does Udemy teach UX well? I'm gonna say no. How would I rate the quality of Udemy? I'll give it a B to a C, which is good to average. Reason being is that one of the courses I took in the beginning, which turned out to just be a UI course and taught me Adobe XD, it was in-depth and consistent enough that here 2 years later, I still remember a lot from what I learned. So it was a good course. And there was a course that seemed to be all about UX, but honestly, it was so impractical and unfocused that it really didn't help me at all. Now that I have experience, the stuff he was saying does make sense now, but for someone starting out, it's a complete mess. Could you get a UX job from Udemy alone? I'd say it's possible, but very unlikely in my opinion. What about the time? Well, as with YouTube, given the quality, although I will say it's better than YouTube, I'm gonna say that no matter how long you spend here, you're not gonna get a real UX position. The cost. Courses can be expensive on Udemy, but if you wait for sales, like me, they can be dirt cheap. So I think it's a great alternative. Okay, bootcamps. Do bootcamps teach UI? Yes. Do they teach UX? Yes. How would I rate the quality? I'm going to give them a grade of B to D, which is good to bad. That D may seem harsh, but I can say for sure in one case that there was almost no teaching and just a collection of videos and articles for me to explore while they pocket $8,000 from me. At least Udemy has videos. And I'm sure there are some that have decent instructors too, at least on Udemy's level. And at least they talk about UX a bit more. Could you get a job? Again, it will vary, but yes, there are some that have. However, even then, I still question the quality of the teaching, the time. Some courses say in as little as 9 weeks, but honestly, I would say to give it at least 8 months to a year. Otherwise, I can't imagine anything really sticky. The cost. Wow. Well, very high, especially for what you're getting. So choose wisely if you decide to go down this path. And now, Coursera, specifically those 2 courses that I mentioned. Do they teach UI? Yes. Do they teach UX? Yes. How would I rate the quality? I'm going to give it an A to a C. Excellent to average. That average score is for the CalArts course. It has a good coverage of design theory, but I do feel that it could be more in-depth. And of course, I rate the Michigan course as excellent because even though it doesn't cover every user research method, it does it well enough that you can get a job from it. The time it would take? 8 months for sure. The cost, low or free, depending on how you want to do it. And finally, the traditional college experience. Do they teach UI? Yes. Do they teach UX? Yes. How would I rate the quality of those programs? I'm going to say an A to a B, excellent to good. Even though I said it's near impossible to rate between different schools, and that is true, I can say that at least for the ones that I've looked into for myself, they seem to be top notch. Could you get a job taking these courses? Absolutely, and possibly a degree to go along with it, depending on your path. The time it would take. Well, it depends on if you're going for a degree or certificate, so I'll say somewhere between 1 and 4 years. The cost, very, very high, although you do have financial aid that you can access. So, what I would suggest is to use YouTube or Udemy for learning the software and understanding design standards and getting your feet wet. And then use either a bootcamp, assuming you found the golden goose, or Coursera for the real stuff. Or, if you've already planned for it, you can make it happen, take the traditional college pathway. So that's my take on the possible pathways a self-taught UX designer may take. I recommend the path I took because it worked for me, but I also realize that this may not be the case for everyone. And keep in mind, the self-taught way means that you're going to need to work a little harder to prove to employers that you really know your stuff. And my previous video tells you how you can compensate for that. Either way, you want to choose a path that teaches you both the UX and the UI. Do that and you'll have no problem starting your new career. I also want to thank you guys so much for your support. I never thought that that video would see so many views, and it may seem small to others, but for me, a design channel, that's far more than I thought it would get. And I made that video because I wanted to help people like me who were trying to find answers for, all this mess. And seeing those views and seeing your comments, it makes me happy because it means that the video is helping. And all of your kind words in the comments and how well everything's doing, that's really more than I could have asked for. And there'll be more videos coming. I plan for this channel to be very practical and have plenty of videos and tutorials that will actually be helpful to self-taught UI UX designers. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments. I am more than happy to help. And if there's a subject that you'd like to see a video on, please let me know. You guys are my users, so I'm polling you for your needs. But in the meantime, my name is Blaze, or at least that's what they always call me, and I'll see you guys next time.